If you're a photographer looking to improve your work, this is one of the first things you can do. This is a portfolio review. Very grateful to Matt Flood, the showcased photographer for today's portfolio review. He reached out to us with around about 15 images that we're going to be looking at shortly. Having a look at his work online, having a look at his 2 websites, you can see that he does a range of portraits, intimate weddings and wrestling work there. A few headshots, promos, live music, a little bit of everything really in there. On first impressions, the work has a natural feel to it with elements of style sort of creeping through. We're going to have a look through the images that he submitted for a portfolio today and have a look at some of the things that we can look to improve the photography and hopefully take it to the next level. Now, the reason why portfolio reviews are so beneficial to you is because it gives you the opportunity to submit your images to someone else for objective critique. And what that means is I'll be able to have a look at your images with a fresh mind and have a look at different categories such as impact, composition, exposure, technical ability and storytelling, and try and see what you were trying to convey as a photographer with your images. As photographers ourselves, we get super attached to our images. We were there when the shot was taken. We know what storytelling we were trying to convey. But the real power in photography is being able to get that narrative and that storytelling over to someone else who wasn't there and to see how powerful your image is in terms of storytelling. And that's what we're going to have a look at today with Matt. Matt submitted a range of images from his portfolio today, which is really cool. I love that. He hasn't just specialized on one little niche. He's submitted some weddings, some couple images and some wrestling images in there. So we've got a real broad church to have a look at. I'm going to start off with the first image now. So we have our first image here of a couple sat down at the bottom of this tree. It looks like it's a super difficult time of day to shoot. It's noon. The shadows of the trees look really short. So we're fighting against direct sunlight, and direct sunlight at noon is really difficult. The sun's right over the top of the head, exactly where we don't want it for portrait photography. It gives us squinty eyes. It gives us long nose shadows and deep shadows underneath the eyes, so we can't really see eyes within the photos. And the thing about portraits is we really want to focus on the eyes. It's the first thing we go to. We want to see sparkly eyes, and it's so difficult to do that at noon. So what Matt's done really well here is he's tried to find some semblance of shade in this arena, and he's found it at the bottom of this tree. Got the couple in there nice and close together, got them cuddled in. I love the expressions. It looks natural. It feels like they're really natural together in the way that they're placed. They look very comfortable, very happy together. A way to improve this image, however, would be to maybe have a look at the cropping aspect and the way that we've chosen to crop the image here. I like the way that it's been shot on a slightly longer lens, so that means that the background is completely knocked out at this sort of very short aperture, which means our focus is brought in to the couple in the foreground, but the feet at the front, they're kind of shortened in a way, and it kind of doesn't do anything for the composition and for the shape in the shot. In addition, this foot here just on the left hand side, just cropping up through the hand here, and it's all a little bit overexposed where it's just hitting the sun, and the brightest part of the image is where our eye naturally goes to. We've got a big brightness on the right hand side here in the background where it's super white because it's so bright on the day, but just within the elements of the people in the image, the brightest parts of the shoes in front there, and we could almost do with eliminating them, and the easiest way to eliminate them is to crop them out. So if we'd chosen to just crop up just a little bit, we'd have maybe just focused in on the faces, focused in on the expression, focused in on that reaction, and we wouldn't have those distracting elements in the bottom there. But surely an image that this couple will have absolutely loved. On to image number 2 here, and I've seen this one do the rounds in the past. It's a cracking action shot, it really is, and balls of steel as well to sort of sit down in this bottom corner here as this kick is coming in. I'm getting too old for this sort of stuff at ringside. I'm scooting round to the other ring post while this is going on and getting out of harm's way, but fair play to you, you're on a wide angle lens, so I can tell you're really close to this action. Good use of shutter speed here, because although the action is frozen, we can still see movement within the foot of the diving athlete here. And we got a really strong POV of the guy in the corner, and the way that the shape of the guy dropping the kick in with the arms outstretched there gives us a nice sort of natural triangle. Almost looks like a butterfly or a bat coming in into action there. The sharpness and the focus is on him. Slightly distracting elements over the shoulders here with these two guys looking on. I'm not convinced they add a whole heap to the shot. I like the high contrast processing. I like the leading lines of the ring rope sort of coming in there. I think maybe if we'd have just had a look at maybe just cloning out those little distracting elements in the background, we'd have an even longer shot. And with things like generative AI and all of the tools that you've got in Photoshop now, you can even look at dragging this left hand side of the frame out even further, to give us even more leading lines, even more negative space on the left-hand side, and just drawing our eyes from the left to the right into what is a really, really strong action shot. It's a great shot, this one. So a couple shot here on the beach with the bridge in the background, and again, looks like a difficult time of day to shoot. Looks like it's bright sunshine, so we've done well to control the tones as much as we can in this sort of difficult setup. The combination of the colours with the red in the dress and the red in the shirt with the green in the background with the little bits of grass there work really, really well together. I find I like the grass in the foreground as well, which gives us a little bit of an element of foreground. When we're looking at these shots where we're working outside in an environmental portraiture, we can look at elements of foreground, of midground and background. And if we think these few strands of grass are the foreground, then you've got your midground of the couple in the midground and then the background of the dramatic bridge. For me, there's not quite enough foreground. I'd have maybe looked for an area where there's more grass and used that to bring that in, to give it more of a feel of peeking through, of lifestyle, of reportage. We can potentially look at a slightly different angle, making more of that bridge, because that bridge is cutting right through the middle of the image and just behind our couple there. And if we go for a slightly more dramatic angle, we may have been able to make more of that bridge, may have had a look at a landscape shot there to make the most of that bridge in the background. Overall, an unconventional pose there, which actually asks more questions than it answers, so I find that quite intriguing. And overall, a good attempt outside on what is quite clearly a difficult day lighting-wise for photography. Remember, when you're posing couples outside and we're doing full-length shots, we can see everything from head to toe. Posing starts from the feet up, and if we move the feet into position, we can then move the hips, we can then move the waist, we can then move the arms, we can then move the shoulders, we can then move the head. So remember, in future, if your couples are having issues posing, then it's always good to remind yourself that posing starts from the feet up and to start with them from there. Next image, a really, really dramatic black and white shot here, making the most of this really, really compelling face mask. I love it. I love the detail on that. I love the expression. I love the use of hands in there to really emphasize that expression. It looks like a one light setup, which is, it's my favorite lighting setup of all. I love using one light to create simple dramatic portraiture, and I love the use of hands. Hands traditionally are really, really difficult things to pose with in portraits, but a really, really good use of hands to go along with the rest of the image here. I'm not sure it needs the bottom half of the image. I think all of the detail is in that top half. And maybe again, potentially with the way that the antlers are at the top of the mast there, maybe a landscape may have helped, and something maybe slightly less obvious looking straight at the camera. If we turn the light, if we turn the head, then we may create more shadows, more form, more texture along that detailed mask, and make the most of that in terms of creating the dramatic portrait and the dramatic lighting effects. There's a few little tricks and tips that we can use there to get a bit more detail out of that mask and draw even more attention to it and make that the main focus. I think it's fighting for attention a little bit with the hands, with the fur coat, with the bare chest, with the hair, with the beard, with the expression. Everything there is fighting against that mask, and I really want that mask to be the showcase of it. I want it to be the showpiece of it. These guys, if this is a wrestler, will have spent a lot of money on this wardrobe and will really, really want to showcase it. And just sometimes less is more in these, particularly in these black and white portraits. You can get away with doing less and create a more dramatic portrait. Really simple lifestyle shot here. Looks like it's been shot with natural light. Love the little expression just looking over the shoulder there. Lovely muted combination of colours as well. That little element of green in the carpet and green up on the side there, working really nicely there with the orange on the side and the green in her eyes. So I think that all works in unison nicely, and the little socks, you know, complement the wardrobe nicely. So I think it's really, really, really sweet. Maybe a slight turn of the head to the side just to maybe have a bit more sympathetic angle on it, something with a bit more expression there. But overall, a nice angle and a nice attempt at doing something a little bit different. Here we go. Look at this. This is dramatic. This is something that stands out. A good use of the lights and composition within this one. So these lights are creating nice straight leading lines down through the image, and we've got her posed off to the right hand side, just on that third there, on that far right. So 2/3 of lights leading our eye in from left to right, and then the final third with a strong pose there on the side. I love the little lift up to the glasses, just bring them down so we can see the eyes over the top. The fact that the glasses are red as well works really well, works really, really nicely. Trying maybe just lift that chin up just a little bit for a slightly more flattering angle on there. Doing something with this hand and this arm here to create another pose on the right hand side that mimics the pose on the left hand side. So we're creating triangles and shapes and forms. So just by bringing this hand on the right up onto the hip creates an extra angle, an extra dimension. And when we're placing feet up on the walls, it's important to remember not to lift them up too high. If this foot goes up, and this foot is black, so it's going to merge into that black background. If it goes up this high and any higher, it's going to be lost behind that knee, and we kind of lose a little bit of posing, lose a little bit of detail there. So if we bring that foot down, it just gives us a nice angle and a nice gentle angle up from the standing leg into that drop leg, into that lifted leg up onto the background, up into the arm on the right hand side, up into the arm on the left hand side, and something super dramatic. I'd want to see more from this shoot. I want to see more angles, more things you can do. Bring yourself around to the wall, shooting through the lights, shooting up from low, shooting down from up high. Loads of different things that you can do with here, but really, really dramatic shot there. Good use of shape and form in there to create a strong portrait, strong full length portrait as well, which is difficult to do. Wow. Okay, real connection here. Love this. Wow. Okay. Real connection here. That's the first thing I'm getting here. It's the connection from the subject to the viewer, and we get that with good eye contact. So it says to me that you've got a great relationship with your subjects as you're shooting them. There's trust in there, which is really well handled. For me, the triangle of light coming from the nose on the right hand side, very distraction in the way that it's come across there. But it looks like we're using some sort of gobo, some sort of star gobo in a spotlight there, which is giving us. Sometimes we can get overwhelmed with using gimmicks within lighting, and we lose the basic fundamentals of what makes a strong portrait. So this nose shadow here on the right hand side cutting across the cheek, super dark. We've got the shadow coming across the chin here with the lightness underneath the chin as well. So you've got black and white working together, which again, maybe not the most flattering look there. And I think what we've done is we've overcomplicated what is actually a really sympathetic, strong look into camera. Good use of the blue lighting in the background. There's some spillage that's come across there onto the fingers and the arms and the side of the face, which is neither good nor bad. I appreciate the look at it. It certainly, I think it's a scroll stopper. I think if you put it on your social media, because there's that connection and because there's that strong contrasty lighting and strong use of color, I think you've got that going for it there. But just some minor attention to details with the color, and just sometimes, I say this a lot on portfolio reviews, sometimes less is more. But overall, a great connection there with the photographer, and therefore a great connection with the viewer as we look at it for the first time. Good angle on this one, and this is a popular image for promotions, and it's a popular image for wrestlers because the wrestler looks like he's the center of attention with the crowd in the background. The promoter has an image that shows people enjoying themselves, people engaged with the product, people engaged with the ringside experience. It's very slightly off center. It's just on a slight tilt. So just have a look in Photoshop again and maybe just tilt it back the other way. Use your grid lines to try and get that nice and straight. There's lots of lines going in the background though. Lots of, like the vent unit and the ceiling and the strats and the supports and the foundations and the beams. It's all and they're working against these ring ropes and the rail guards in the foreground as well. So it's a very it's a very clustered image in terms of leading lines. But despite that, we can still see our wrestler there up on the top turnbuckle. Nothing distracting in the foreground. Good promotion for the company as well, because you got their names on the turnbuckles. And I could look at these expressions of these people all day, really. I love looking at stuff like this, where we see wrestling fans engaged in a product. And engaged in their experience there. So overall, yeah, a good, well-observed capture, and an interesting use of black and white. I'm guessing, having a look at some of the lighting that you've got on there, I'm guessing the lighting wasn't the best, so maybe color balance was a problem on the day. But I think the black and white simplifies that image a little bit. Just maybe having a look at the aperture, maybe using a wider aperture if we can, to try and maybe just focus in on that subject and knock out some of those background details that aren't relevant to the image. Studio portrait here. So shape is so important in photography in terms of creating dynamic, strong images. and we've got a really simple shape here, a really simple triangle, and it's symmetrical and it works so well. I love the way that that triangle just draws your eye in. It's a real case of simple things done well. Interesting lighting setup. I love the fall off of that pink. The gear and the get up and the pose doesn't look soft, it doesn't look feminine, it doesn't look, you know, pink to me, but it's a funny juxtaposition. I kind of enjoy it. I want to see more of this face and the face guard thing going on there. I love the hand position either side. I think that's all done very, very well, but I want to see more of the detail of the jacket, and especially this thing going on around the face, just so I can see exactly what it's made up of and exactly what it's supposed to be. So maybe just by tilting that head down, we can see a little bit more of that in detail there. But a lovely strong image. I like this, and I could see this as a series of images on different colours with this sort of lighting setup with different wrestlers and different shapes. That would make for a really, really interesting portfolio piece. There we go, it's ringside action. I think that's probably Effie. And again, reactions. Love looking at reactions of people in an audience. We've caught this moment here of the impact of the rail guard. Good timing on that one. So we've got the expression, and it's all about the expression here and the expression here. These two expressions here of the fan on the left hand side and the wrestler in the foreground, making the most of that shot there. A couple of distracting elements. The big head on the left hand side here sadly is obliterating and is quite bright in the image, and the look of the cameraman in the background here looking straight down the barrel of the lens, unfortunately. The one in the background there possibly could be cloned out. I'm not sure what you do with the one on the left hand side there, and it really only works as a horizontal rather than a vertical piece. But good timing on that one, and again, you're showing how brave you are when you work in ringside, because I can tell you're shooting wide angle. I tell you're not afraid to get close to the action, and that's leading to some, you know, really, really key moments like this. But reactions from fans and stuff like that, and fans enjoying themselves at events are pretty priceless there. So yeah, good shot there. Nice low angle on a ringside shot here. We've got a submission hold in place. We can see a good expression on the right hand side here, upside down with the branding on the arm. And we can see the sort of attempted submission on the left hand side there. Tiny little bit soft on the back face, but that's fine. I like the low angle because it makes it feel like you're in the ring and makes you feel like you're part of it. I wonder if there was maybe a different angle if we come round to the left a little bit more so we can see both faces. I think it's just a bit of a missed opportunity not to see both faces on this one, and get those real expressions. And when they're in submission holds, I just shoot as much as I can to get the one image that I think best represents both expressions working in unison in good timing. But again, getting close to the action and low to the canvas, I like it. A portrait here looking straight into the camera. Love the high key aspect of it. High key photography is something I really, really enjoy. So good use of the white background on this one. Focus here on the glasses and the look round into camera, so there's good connection with the viewer. My only question of it is that there's not a lot of light in those eyes, so I want to see a little bit more sparkle. I don't know whether it's been shot with natural light or with a flashlight, but work to try and get some sort of catch light in those eyes so that we can get a little bit of sparkle, or at least some sort of catch light in those glasses, just to give them a bit of a modern sheen as well. And also the fact that the nose, the eyes and the face is all running through that middle part of the shot, but it's not a symmetrical shot. So when we're looking at composition, nice strong compositions with rules of thirds of bringing the main part of the face that we're looking at, which is the eyes, onto one third or the other. Or if we are doing a symmetrical shot, as we did with the triangle with the guy kneeling down before, we have everything right in the middle. This is neither of those things. So it's not quite an asymmetrical shot. It's not quite a symmetrical shot. It's sort of like sitting in between the two. We're not sure whether there's a closer, stronger crop in there that we can use. Again, close to the action. Great timing on this one, just before I assume all hell breaks loose with the trash can and the front door. I love the hand up here, just reaching out. That's good. It's good timing just before. I wonder what the next shot looks like, what the next couple of frames look like as it breaks through. But I kind of like this moment just before. It leads you to ask questions as to, oh my goodness, what is going to happen as he launches himself on top of his opponent here. And I like the fact that you can't actually see his opponent's face. So that means that all of our focus goes on the guy giving the move, the guy jumping on top, the guy getting ready to to put them both through the table in this. So not a lot of distracting elements in the background either. I quite like the use of the ceiling in this one to sort of frame the top of the image in a natural triangle as well. So yeah, really lovely ringside shot that. An attempt at a wide angle shot here to showcase off this boot. It's a good start, it's a good attempt. I think the boots are already quite big, and I think that maybe the focus of these boots is, if we're going to focus on anything, possibly those buckles, because those buckles are the things that sell that boot. I do like the flaminess on the underside of it, but it's those buckles. There's the excessive numbers of buckles going up, and potentially having a lean forward would give her a body position that's a little bit more flattering, and to use your wide angle lens to best draw attention to those buckles and create a stronger shape with our model at the back. At the moment she's just sort of sitting back, whereas if we have her leaning forward, we can do something with the arms, something from the legs that gives us triangles and shapes within the shot there. Band photo next, looks like it's in studio. All of the faces look largely well exposed, slight bit of overexposure on this guy's face here. I assume he's the closest to the light on the right hand side there, but overall fairly good placement within. We can see the mic stands and the speakers in the background. I just wonder whether with this paneling here is really intriguing to me, and I'm not sure whether there was space enough or an angle that we could get that would make more of that paneling to really fill the frame in there. But overall the color palette of this one sort of sits really well together, I think. Have a look at moving bodies in future, have a look at a little bit of hand placements there just to create more dynamic effect. And sometimes with these band shots where you've got 4 or 5 band members, it's good to get the main guy that you're focusing on to look straight at the camera, get the other guys to look somewhere else and do something different, thinking like Joshua Tree, U2, or do the opposite, get all of the bandmates to look at the camera except for the main guy, which is something like maybe like a Michael Stipe at REM would do, where he would be the only one looking the other way and the band members would all be looking straight at the camera. Looks like a tricky lighting setup, this one, but have a look. Always consider that background, consider what's of interest in the room, and then build your portrait around from there. Last one up, and again it's similar to the one that we looked at previously. Good connection with the viewer on this one, really intense close portrait in here, and intense use of colors as well. Really vivid, vibrant color palette looking through. A lot of noise on this one, so it looks like it's been deliberately shot at a very high digital ISO. ISO is something that we used to use when we were shooting a film to deliberately make images, particularly black and white ones, look grainy. Whereas these days, all ISOs are the same, aren't they now? I think, I don't know. But yeah, no, there's certainly some intensity in here. I'm looking at some of the colours looking slightly oversaturated. I'm looking at the colours in the eyes, especially where I want that to be clean, and that's really pixelated in there with reds and greens. The hand down here is quite bright. I don't mind because it adds to the drama of the piece. A tiny little nose shadow here on the right hand side that potentially could have been eliminated, and we're looking as well a little bits of attention to detail. These little bits of hairs just down on here could have just been taken out just to give us a slightly smoother portrait. So just because there's artifacting in there that's made it imperfect, there are little things that we could look at afterwards just to make it even more perfect and really draw that attention even further into the eyes and into the shot there. So thank you for that, Matt. You can follow him online and you can get a portfolio review yourself. If you're a photographer and you want someone to have a look at your work and give you some open and honest feedback, get in contact, portraitofawrestler@gmail.com, and we could feature you in our next portfolio review on this channel. Have a look at our archive. We've got loads of portfolio reviews up here that you can see from photographers from all around the world. And if you want to get involved, email me, portraitofawrestler@gmail.com, and the next portfolio review on this channel could be yours.